Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories now. President Muhammadu Buhari to inaugurate new cabinet on Wednesday. Governor Seriake Dickson takes governorship campaign to hometown of his major opponent, Timothy Silva. And the Department of Petroleum Resources shuts down some petrol stations for hoarding petroleum products in Kwara State. The Golden Eaglets of Nigeria battle Mali for their 5th World Cup title. And vote counting starts after landmark polls hold in Myanmar. Do remember that all our top stories can be found on our website, channelstv.com. and on youtube.com/channelswam. Visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. When you're done downloading, we do urge you to please interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android, our iOS and Windows platforms. If you've got pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, simply tap on the Channels TV app on your device. Swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. And we now bring you some of the pictures that you sent to our Eyewitness portal, starting first with this one from Idiato South in Imo State, showing a superstructure. Our Eyewitness reporter calls on abandoned facilities in Seriake High School. He wants the state government to do something about the dwindling fortunes of public schools in the state. Next is this picture from Zone E, the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja, showing an open sewage. Our reporter says this poses a grave danger to passers-by, and he wants the concerned authorities to do something about it as quickly as possible. And finally, we bring you this one from Okota Ago Palace Way here in Lagos, in Lagos State, showing school children trapped inside a bus by a truck. Our reporter wants road safety officials to check the excesses of truck drivers in the state. We do appreciate the pictures that you've sent in, and we urge you to keep them coming. At least 8 people have been killed while 30 others sustained injuries in the crisis that erupted in Wukari Kingdom of Taraba State following the verdict of the tribunal which sacked Darius Ishaku as governor of the state. The police command in the state says that though the police has not concluded investigation, the crisis may not be unconnected with the ruling of the tribunal. Former vice chairman of Wukari Local Government Council, Tanimu Dalele, gave journalists the casualty figures and called on security agents to be vigilant in order to forestall a recurrence. The tribunal declared Aisha Al-Hassan, the candidate of the All Progressives Congress in the April 11 elections, as winner of the polls. The tribunal says that Ishaku did not emerge candidate of the People's Democratic Party in a proper primary election. December the 5th is a date for the people of Bayelsa State. They'll decide on that day who will eventually govern them for another 4 years. The current governor of the state, Seriake Dickson, is leaving nothing to chance as he continues to woo the people, telling them that he's the man for the job. This time he visited the people of Oboama Kingdom, the hometown of his main opponent, Timothy Silva.
It was a long 3-hour trip on these waters to the communities of Odioma and Deima in Brass local government area of Bayelsa State. It was, however, worth it as the people of these communities came out in their numbers to welcome Governor Seriake Dickson, his deputy and running mate, Rear Admiral John Jonah, and their entourage, who've come to seek their votes for a second term in office. They were led immediately to a meeting of the Council of Chiefs, where assurances of victory were given them. They also made a stop at the town square where women from both communities also endorsed the governor. The final stop was at the town square, where a wrestling match, one of the famous sports Bayelsans are known for, was staged to press home the people's support for the governor. It was crowned with an endorsement speech from His Royal Highness Daniel Baratuapiri.
10 years have passed, and we have observed that your love for us is still unwavering. Indeed, we have no option but to reciprocate and stand by your side, come rainfall or sunshine.
The governor's campaign train then made a bold one, visiting Okwama, the hometown of his main rival, Timipre Silva, who is the candidate of the All Progressives Congress. The welcome he received was no less rousing, and the governor stopped at some point to acknowledge them. The political tolerance of the people in that community did not go unnoticed by the governor, who commended their political maturity.
This is one example of an enlightened and mature community that understands where politics begins and ends, and where brotherhood starts from. This is what this community has demonstrated again today, and please accept, sir, my heartfelt appreciation and gratitude, and that of the leadership of our government and of our party.
Some indigents and political stalwarts in Okwama spoke on why they believe their community will go to the PDP.
You have seen the crowd that came out, right from the King's Palace to this point. Since morning, they've gathered there waiting for their governor, and they've spoken in one voice that Okwama will vote and deliver PDP.
In this dispensation now we hear PDP is doing well in Okwama, in our life.
As the race heats up, one can only hope that the cordial atmosphere that has so far dominated the campaigns will continue well into the election.
A former governor of Benue State, Mr. Gabriel Suswam, has debunked what he describes as politically motivated efforts to of course, discredit his tenure as governor of the state. Suswam says that 24 hours in office is enough to send any public officer to jail. He asked those calling for his prosecution to remember he is also human. He said that this at Thanksgiving Mass held in his honor at the Holy Ghost Catholic Church in Makati. It was organized by the People's Democratic Party's caucus in Benue State House of Assembly. The embattled former governor also speaks on his preparedness to answer charges leveled against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC.
I would say that it is for the people of Benue State to judge. It is not for us to play politics with it. There are a lot of milestones that were achieved in the last 8 years under my leadership. I believe that the people know it. The masses of the Benue knows what I have done. What the political elite in the opposition are trying to do does not reflect what is on ground. What they have vilified me, they are failing to tell the people what I have done. But you go across the entire state, whether it is in terms of rural roads or provisions of water, electricity, or urban renewal, you know, my footprints are out there. And so it's not something that is in doubt by anybody. Forget about the politics of trying to make me become a project. My advice to the current government is for them to concentrate on delivering the promises they made to the people other than making me the project. There's no problem. I will eventually go to court, you know, but it was not yet time. The agency itself had just given me charges, not yet fix a date for when we will go to court.
6 months after his inauguration, President Muhammadu Buhari will on Wednesday, the 11th of November 2015, officially inaugurate a new Federal Executive Council. The presidency says that the ministers designate will take oath of office at the council chambers of the presidential villa, after which they will be sworn in. Thereafter, the new Federal Executive Council is expected to hold its maiden meeting under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari. Meanwhile, the president is also expected to, on Monday, the 12th of November 2015, preside over the swearing-in of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu as chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and 5 others as national commissioners of the Electoral Commission. This is coming after about a week since the confirmation of 6 people by the Senate. For 2 days, the incoming ministers were kept at the presidential villa listening to the vision of the All Progressives Congress and the President Muhammadu Buhari. At that retreat, they were told by the president to see themselves as agents of change. They were also asked not to compromise their positions under any guise. The APC has promised change in the areas of the economy, in fighting corruption and reforming colleges and universities. Joining me on the news at 10 is a lecturer of political science at the University of Lagos, Dr. Kayode Eshola, where we'll be looking at the expectations of Nigerians from the incoming ministers and the entire cabinet of Mr. President. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the news at 10.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Nigerians are full of expectations at this time, looking at areas like energy, infrastructure for one's, social welfare. What do you expect from this team of ministers in the first 3 months?
Well, I'll capture them as ministers of change based on what the president has promised Nigerians. There are 3 phases to the appointment and the constitution of the Federal Executive Council. 1, you need to appoint your ministers. Nigerians are beginning to complain about the appointment because they have been able to see the same set of people that they've been used to. Now, good or bad, that's irrelevant for now. The buck stops on the table of Mr. President. The second phase is ensuring that you have the right minister in the right ministry. And this is where Nigerians are expecting the president to act now. Once the people are given portfolio, then Nigerians expect them to hit the ground running, and economy is the first thing. Economy needs to be diversified. We must stop running a monomodal economy. Once you diversify the economy, other things will follow because that is the substructure. Corruption will be taken care of. You will have created more infrastructure at the rural areas by diversifying to agriculture. If you do that, you send a lot of people who otherwise would have been lunatics on the streets of Lagos and Abuja back to their villages, and then you decongest the city, you control crime, you balance the system. So economy is the first thing. We must create jobs, we must diversify. Once we do that, we go back to the second thing, which is education. People should be educated. Not the kind of education that we have now. Education for underdevelopment, no. Education for dependency on white-collar job, no. If you reform education to have a self-sufficiency style, then you are beginning to look serious to the people of Nigeria. Once you reform these 2 aspects, okay, I think you will have solved a lot of problems in Nigeria, because even the problem of security that you're talking about will only be solved by education. If you are properly educated, you will not go to the streets of Lagos and say, this religion is evil or this civilization is evil. It is lack of proper education that makes people go into certain excesses, which we glorify today as big problem. In my view, some of these things are not problems really. They have visited our society as a result of improper education.
Now,
so
the government on its side, they just came on board with the change mantra, which they have used to woo the hearts of Nigerians.
Yes.
What are the things that Nigerians should see or feel, do you suppose, to signify that this change has really begun?
Well, as I said, the president needs to put the right person in the right place.
Has he done that?
Well, I don't know. He has not. Until Wednesday, we're not going to get to know who will hold what position or handle what portfolio. But the greatest expectation of Nigeria now, after the first disappointment, as I have said, is to ensure that the right person holds the right position. Whether or not they will perform will be left to history and posterity immediately after the appointment. But in the next 3 months, as I said, economy, education needs radical development, because once these 2 things are done, every other thing will follow. It will control crime, to do a lot of things.
Let's focus on the war on corruption, which the government seems to be pursuing with that much vigor we saw recently. The opposition say that they are indeed the targets. Is this true?
Well, it looks like, and inevitably so, because if you reverse the position, the same thing will come out. When you are fighting a cause, your opponent will easily suspect you and be skeptical towards what you are doing. But beyond that, because I don't want to speak in behalf of a particular opposition or a particular ruling government, beyond that, I think the president should be more theoretical, more fundamental in the fight against corruption. I am very skeptical of the word fight. I use the word control, because corruption is inherent in the nature of man. What you need to do is institute a new crop of elites who will inherit a balanced economy, and then will be able to properly think enough to create an egalitarian society. Otherwise, corruption comes with capitalism. In other words, when you run a capitalist system, as we are trying to do, you will inevitably get into primitive accumulation. When people accumulate primitively, they retain the same thing in the economy to create jobs for people. This job creation will create, in turn, a new crop of elite. This elite will be economically empowered, and they are the ones that will create frameworks that will control corruption. But you don't just take corruption as mosquito, and then you take your insecticide and start killing and people are clapping for you. It must be systematic. That is why I told the president, as a matter of advice, to focus on the economy. It is the substructure. People are corrupt, they steal money, they go out of this country because they lack trust in the country. That's the behavioral analysis. But if you restructure your system and people can be confident about your system, even when they are corrupt, in quote, they invest the money here, they use to create jobs. And then dialectically, a new set of elite will come up who will balance the whole system.
Just in two sentences, let me just pick your thoughts on who do you suppose might just click the positions of perhaps hazardly looking at the power sector, economy and security. Who do you think amongst
power sector? I would think very much towards Fashola. He's aggressive, he's a go-getter, he wants to do things without looking at anybody's
Then the economy?
face. That is the part, the perspective, in which I look at him. Economy? Well, maybe not. I don't foresee any of them as an economic expert, so I may not be very forthcoming towards that.
And then for security?
Security. The president himself should head security, my view.
I want to thank you so much indeed for speaking to us, Dr. Kaede Eswola, for coming on the news at 10. When the news at 10 returns, our community report focuses on Owu waterfall in Kwara State. Join us again.